Hi, welcome to the Kiwi Rocket. Today we have David Speicher, who's here to speak to us about a big leak of information ordered by the courts on Pfizer and what they've been keeping from the public. You're not going to want to miss this. Hi, David. How are you today?
Good. It is such a good thing to be here, Joe.
Thank you for coming on the Kiwi Rocket.
You're welcome.
So I see that you've put out a report about Pfizer BioNTech and the mRNA vaccines and
Yes.
how the clinical testing has been inadequate. Could you explain what made you decide to get this information request put out first?
So I have so far in the past 18 months tested 38 vaccine vials. 10 in Canada are the Pfizer vials. All of those contain the SV40 enhancer and promoter sequences. And last year, this past March, Australia asked myself to test vials, 2 Pfizer and 1 Moderna, for both DNA contamination and the SV40 sequences. And in those vials, I found alarming high loads of both DNA and the SV40. And that led to us, myself and Rebecca Barnett and the legal team under Katie Ashby-Coppins to question the TGA about how much have they seen, have they done the testing and stuff. And the more we dug and the more we pushed, the more we learned that the TGA is hiding things and haven't tested things all along like they probably should have been. So
That's terrible. I see in your paper that the mRNA vaccines fell out of the normal regulatory framework for testing because they weren't traditional vaccines, but yet they weren't classified as gene therapy. Do you think that the regulations might need shifting? Do you think the problems with the regulations and how it lines up with the vaccines? Or do you think that the regulations are fine and they should have just classed it as a gene therapy?
That's a very good question, Joe. And when Pfizer and Moderna rolled out these vaccines, they didn't have a good framework to judge them by because it's a brand new modified RNA technology. And so they went with the vaccine framework. Except if we're doing that, the whole definition of a vaccine had to be changed. The way it was looked at didn't quite fit. So in the current and well-used, well-quoted guidelines of the TGA and the FDA, the amount of DNA in a DNA vaccine should have only have been 10 nanograms per dose. And this is for naked DNA outside of a lipid nanoparticle injected into the arm, and it should have been less than 200 base pairs and not multiple doses given. And we found too that these novel shots of the modified RNA vaccines. First of all, it is DNA inside a lipid nanoparticle that is being transfected into a cell. It should have been a single dose only, and it's been given to some folks 6 to 8 times. And to our average base pair size is 200 base pairs up to 3,500 base pairs, and in some instances, it's a full-length spike gene with a SVV40 and the answer attached to it. And all of our regulators have said that it's fragmented, it's non-functional, it's not biologically active. And that is inherently false. As we've seen through works of Kevin McKernan and Philip Buckles, if you take human cells, expose those in cell culture to the vaccine, and overnight, the vaccine DNA will go into the cell, into the cell's nucleus, and integrate into the genome, which is problematic, Joe.
It's absolutely dreadful. So I know that SV40 has been linked to cancer. Could you elaborate on how there's a link between cancer and SV40 in the manufacturing process?
So our first known link of SV40, the full-length virus, and the polio vaccines had a definite link to cancer. Now, it's very important to differ between the full intact SV40 virus, which this isn't, and the SV40 nuclear localization sequences. So if we look at these vaccines, we know spike on its own is toxic. The lipid nanoparticles on their own are toxic. The SV40 enhancer is key to inserting large DNA fragments in the human genome, and that is in a pre-cancerous gene. As well, you've got all kinds of small DNA fragments there into the cell. And if you put a bunch of small DNA fragments into a cell, there's a good chance of spontaneous insertion of small fragments. There's the SV40 sequence help to insert large fragments into the genome. And any time our genomes are changed, if it's UV light, if it's DNA being put in, if it's a whole wide range, and any time our genome is changed, it could cause adverse health events. Now, our cells are fairly robust, and there are mechanisms to help repair our cellular genomes. And one of the ways is through the P53 gene. It is the guardian of our genome and helps to ensure things are kept intact. The SV40 promoter sequence will bind to P53 and block that and allow our cells to become oncogenic. So yeah, there's multiple ways in which this is at work. And the bottom line is any change to our genome which is not natural is very bad for our health.
Yeah, I see that there's statistics have been quite bad for multiple diseases in your report. Deaths, disabilities, heart problems.
Heart issues, menstrual cycle changes, and things too. So, and two is this whole concept as well of ribosomal shifting. And so the N1 methyl pseudouridine is not a natural base pair. It's synthetic in nature to make all of these mRNA pieces more plastic and robust. And our ribosomes, because of that, will shift. And sometimes our cells are making full-length spikes. Sometimes it's a quarter or a half. And so the spike sizes are always changing, and that gives us a very off-target immune response. And so we're reacting to a range of things and not just one thing. And when our immune systems are thrown off whack like this, it's never a good thing.
I mean, that's pretty concerning that this mod RNA is virtually indestructible compared to natural mRNA.
Yeah, and to think about the things further, once the mod RNA in the vaccines is used up and the cell recycles it, where does it go? Is it being used in other RNA pieces, other metabolic pathways? So yeah, how many different cellular metabolic pathways are we actually changing based on transfecting these things into a cell?
That is disturbing. I mean, that's true. There's probably so many other diseases and problems that haven't been detected yet. It's going to be caused by that. That's terrifying.
And two are things, and a more concerning thing is, are these DNA pieces, this DNA, inserting into a sperm or a egg cell and being passed on? Are we affecting those who are injected, or are we affecting our offspring or theirs? And I think too, some of the effects of this will not be seen in our own lifetime.
That's awful. And the worst part about that, well, for me, probably not for other people, is that those who need to be held to account probably might not necessarily be alive or be around to face the consequences of that outcome.
Well, I think that based on that point is how come Pfizer wanted the record sealed for 75 years. And therefore, once it's all known and it's all available, all of those responsible for it would be long gone. Which doesn't quite seem right, Joe.
It's not good enough. I'm very surprised that they've been allowed to get away with releasing it in installments as it is.
Oh, yeah. No. And I think more accountability of the pharmaceuticals needs to be in order. I am all for good drugs, good vaccines, which have been looked at thoroughly, well tested, well challenged. If things aren't well categorized and looked at and tested, they should never be given to people, right? And on that point, I'm all for freedom of choice and my body, my choice, except if you want a well-informed consent, a well-informed choice, there needs to be freedom of information. And one thing that is very difficult in court cases especially is that people want us to prove these vaccines cause harm, to prove there's DNA and harmful things in there, and they want our work to be in a peer-reviewed PubMed index journal. Now, the tricky part is to submit and publish something in those journals without so far having things censored. So you've seen my work in my paper on the DNA contamination. It's been seen 210, 220,000 times in the past 12 to 14 months. Okay, it's been downloaded 20,000 times. We have completed that work. It's been written, it's been polished, it's been submitted since December 1st to 3 journals so far, because 2 of those, the editor will not send it out for peer review because it's too big of a risk. Now, if this is good science, challenge our work on a scientific level, send it out for peer review, let people challenge the data and the hypotheses. If something is done wrong, prove and show it's been done wrong. If it's not, that's the facts as they are. Publish the work.
Absolutely. And I've also been seeing that some things do initially pass peer review and then they get thrown out of journals as well. There's a lot of corruption in the publishing of medical stuff at the moment.
Yes, it's all about someone who's got the cash to question things and challenge things and want things to be revoked. As a scientist, I am open-minded and think and look at the facts. I take a Pfizer vaccine vial, I test it by PCR and fluorometry. The results are the facts. I don't change the results to match my thinking. The facts are the facts, and that's it.
Good. That's the way science should be, honest.
Exactly. And to return things to a open air public debate. If you and I have a scientifically different thought on something, let's discuss it. Let's challenge each other's thinking about the data and the facts and not attack each other on a personal level, but let's sit down, discuss, and work out what is actually going on and how can we solve it. Because there's so many vaccine injured people out there. Our governments have caused people harm by forcing these vaccines on them. Because if your choice is, do I work a job and feed my family? And if I do, I must get vaxxed, or I'm unvaxxed and homeless and have no house and food. That is not a choice. It needs to be an informed medical choice without consequence of your decision. Most governments, even your old prime minister, Jacinda Ardern, who I know is so loved over there in New Zealand, did not give people a choice. And therefore, if she forced this on people and have caused people harms, those people must take responsibility of their actions and make things right.
Yeah. I noticed that the people who have caused the harm politically have gone on to get rewarded. Our Director General of Health got to get a knighthood. Jacinda's just got a damehood. She got an honorary doctorate at Harvard University. And I feel like they're being rewarded for corruption, is my personal theory. So it would be really good to actually hold them to account legally.
I agree. And it does seem like that. I've been in this fight since March of 2020. I've lost multiple jobs. Our cash is tight. Like, I'm doing science and I can't even feed my wife and kid. And things don't seem fair at all. And those who have sidelined myself, go off and get faculty positions and knighthoods and stuff. And it's like, this is not right, except we do know that tides are changing. People's thoughts on things are changing over time. The truth is coming out. How long until that dam actually busts? I hoped it would have busted months ago. And we're still here, still seeing, still fighting to get the scientific facts out there. But it is making us more resilient, and it's not fair at all. Has hid data for TGA and EMA. At first, they did not disclose the SV4T. Folks have been vaccine injured, and all of those who have lied and stuff and hid things and done things which are very underhanded get away with it, and we must show all of our data and our results and be completely transparent. Rebecca Barnett, the TGA, and got back, I think, 72 pages of it's a fully redacted document. All of the methods were redacted, all of the results were redacted, and yet the TGA said that we are not being transparent enough on our methods, and they will not release any of theirs. I'm like, really?
They shouldn't be allowed to get away with that. They should be forced to in every country. Also, the Pfizer contracts between Pfizer and the governments that no one's allowed to see, but yet our tax dollars paid for those injections.
Yep.
Yeah. I see that ivermectin was mentioned in your report. And I know that ivermectin has a lot of benefits for many illnesses, and more is emerging.
Is this in my paper with the Dr. Peter McCullough? Oh, yeah, that paper.
It just seems to me that they knew that ivermectin was not going to make any money, knew it could help people, knew it would prevent the vaccines. And so they did everything that they could to fraudulently make it look dangerous to the public.
I think on that point, early in the pandemic, pandemic. We're told it's novel, it's there, it's bad. We need to be all hands on deck, all options are viable. And when the docs find a thing which has helped some folk, it should have been explored, used, and it should have been all options and not only government approved options are on the table. It's like we have this thing and we have the only answer, and that's what you're going to use. Now, I've seen ivermectin work. I've seen people bounce back fast after. I was sick. The ironic thing is that I, as a virologist in the pandemic, led and in charge of 2 COVID testing labs. And so I was playing with the virus. I was having sick people in my vehicle. I was around sick, infected samples each day. My wife had COVID in May of 2020. I was not sick at all until I went up north to ice fish a week alone in the bush in March of 22. And I'm around no one, and now I get sick. I'm stocked up. I got vitamin D and quercetin and ivermectin and HCQ. Test myself. I know I'm SARS-2 positive. I start ivermectin on day 0, and it did not work at all.
Oh.
Nothing. And I've seen it work on others. And I asked Pierre Torrique, because he's like, I love ivermectin. I used a lot. I'm like, how come it didn't work? Well, on some people, it just doesn't work. And on a lot of people, it does. And so it's very important to know that it's not a one size fits all, because some things will work on some people and some it won't. And is it host response? All of us are different. And so it's just a thing that we have to adjust with, adapt to. Is it safe? Absolutely. It's been used lots for other parasitic infections. It's safe. And to chase down and threaten and pull a medical license of someone for using ivermectin as they see works best, I think, is not a good thing at all.
You make a good point there. And that also would speak to the vaccine mandates. That who are they to say that everyone should get the same medication in the form of an injection? If everyone's different as well.
Right.
Very irresponsible for them to make medical decisions that should be made by a private doctor, at the very least, and the patient.
Yes. Right. And too, a lot of folk that they got sick and recovered and had a very robust immune system. And so on that point, I talked with a colleague in London on the antibody levels in someone's saliva. Okay. And if you have one COVID shot, you have some immunity. If you got sick, you have even more, and it's higher. It's a more robust immune response. If you have a second shot, all of your immune titers drop to nothing. So to push these onto people makes no sense at all.
Beautiful. You say that you've had trouble keeping a job. Is there anything people can do if they wish to support you to continue your great work to help?
Yeah, there is so much good new science that is being done. I am doing work on sperm cells, on genomic integration, and my current hope and thrive and goal is to set up testing for those who are vaccine injured to look at spike levels. And so all of this needs support, funds, encouragement, because at times it seems like a very lonely journey. Into all of this research, our governments don't want things done. They won't fund it, because if we show that we are right, who's responsible. And so they can follow myself on X, on Substack, on Courageous Truth, and on my website, which is davidspeicher.com. So, yeah, there's so much more important key scientific lab work that needs to be done.
That's fantastic. I think you're doing great work. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
on the Kiwi Rocket.
I have so many colleagues and friends in New Zealand. My PhD supervisor is Christ Church. And so it's just, yeah, it is great to talk to your audience and have a very Merry Christmas, Joe, and all of those in New Zealand.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to you too.
Merry Christmas, Joe.
Thank you.